so we just wanted to kind of go through the 2104 release, which is tentatively scheduled for release on this Thursday evening. Feels like the right release date. And we will see how that goes. We're busy coding like crazy, so we can talk through some of the things we have and some of the stuff that we're working on. If for some reason it doesn't go Thursday night, we will probably deploy it a week from Tuesday, which would be the 30th. So we just have some big changes coming that I want to make sure that we get right, so that we don't like break things related to how many holds and checkouts people have, because those are all important. Before we get started, though, I want to welcome Kirsten. Kirsten is the new developer on the Aspen team. Do you want to say hi, Kirsten?
Hello.
Hi.
So Kirsten's been with us. She is starting her second week.
Second week.
Yeah. And already has a couple of contributions. So do you want to talk at all about background or anything, Kirsten? Or like put you on the spot here?
I'm not for sure what to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Came from Partner Library at Salina, Kansas. You're working on, what's your degree again that you're working
I am working on a master's in user experience design. So really excited to bring that over to Aspen.
Definitely excited to have her on board. So we'll got all kinds of good things planned. So let's see. Let's go through some of the functionality that we've created. This is a little bit different than some of these in that we've actually had two like minor releases in between the time 2103 last came out. Let me share. That's the right thing to share. So we had a 210301. So a lot of these are just kind of timely things that we needed to support one or two partners. They're rolling out into 2104 for everybody. So a couple of little things. So API usage dashboard. So for the people using APIs extensively, which is generally just the people using the app or that have their own apps. So this just gives a way to say like, hey, how many browse categories are we loading? How many people are we checking to see if they're logged in and validating their account and that kind of thing. So just some ways to kind of see how well APIs are being used and how effective apps are and that kind of thing. That is going to be available within, sorry, I should have come back here. So in your system reports, there will now be an API usage dashboard in addition to the usage dashboard. We don't have a whole lot of usage on Aspen Test because we don't have an app connected to it yet, but we will soon. So right now, the get index status is what we use as just a general health status. You will see tens of thousands of those over the course of a month. And then updating patron rating history, Aspen does within itself to update patron rating history. Let's go back to release notes. Uh, 210301. So the renew all, we just added a little additional information within the API. Let more API stuff so people can load browse categories from the API, and we just allow you to specify which page you want to be on. And how big you want the page to be. So by default, Aspen defaults to 24. But but there's a need to show more or less. So in the app especially. And then adding a source so that in this case, the app that was being used was filtering out lists. So we had a couple of browse categories that were based on lists that they just wanted to filter out. Any questions on the API stuff there? We had a couple of little Koha integration updates, adding OPAC notes, borrower messages, and debarment information. If anybody has questions on any of those will be shown now. If anybody is very worried about showing OPAC notes, borrower message, or debarment information to patrons, they show in the standard Koha OPAC, but if you are putting stuff there that patrons really shouldn't see, this would be a great time to either clean that up and remove them or say, hey, Mark, please don't display those. And we can put a switch in that says don't do that. So right now it displays to everybody because it shows in the Koha OPAC. But if you don't want that, let us know. And then we made a bunch of performance issues. So we had for Swan, who just went just launched their beta partners, we found a few performance issues where it was a little bit slow. It was taking, in some cases, like 10 to 20 seconds to display search results, which we didn't want. So now it is much better. We found some redundant calls to the database, which we added. This is only probably really interesting to Kirsten and I, but we have now in IP information. So if we go into our primary configuration and IP addresses, there is now an ability to log database queries, which just means on a page view, we can see every single call that we're making to the database so that we can see if we're making the same call 3 or 4 times, we can stop doing that. And that shows up in a log file on the server itself. So then we had a few complaints we added the new filtering functionality to all of the like library systems locations so that you can add a filter here to say, I want to filter and only show a display name of Mark. That works really well, especially for big tables, but we had some concerns that for tables that were used frequently, like browse categories and that kind of thing, it was useful to be able to filter those using the old method. So here we've got the ability to still narrow those down and find all of your New York Times things quickly and easily without having to go through the steps of adding filters and that kind of thing. So we've got a few more places where we can do that in more than one location. So. Oh, and then this was another update, but if we are looking for series information, just to make things easier. So if you click on a series search that's not going to a novelist search or a novelist display, it's just doing a search. So here we're just doing a search by series for Menagerie. It should be sorting that from newest to oldest automatically. So, so that you would see that, and that works better the longer and more unique this is. Any questions on any of those updates? And then
Yes. Yes, I have a question.
Go for it.
Okay. I have a couple questions actually, of course. First up, on the display borrower notes, is that like a toggly thing that we could have like no borrower notes, but we could have opaque notes, or is it kind of a whole combo platter of notes?
Right now it shows them all.
Okay.
So if it needs to be a toggly thing, and it needs to be toggled by specific type, let me know and we will make it so between now and Thursday.
Okay. I don't think it has to be that way. That would be great in the future. I just am thinking of a few like borrower notes I've probably put on some people's accounts that probably are a bit too casual for like official communications, like they got too few many emojis in there and stuff. So a toggle would be nice in the future, but that's not something you have to have like, must have fixed by Thursday.
Okay.
That would just be kind of cool. The other question I had on the Siri search, does that automatically become hyperlinked, or does it need to have some kind of like authority record or something like that? No.
So
Okay.
as long as it shows in some of your metadata, so if it is in the MARC record or in Overdrive or Hoopla or wherever, if it's cataloged and you don't have a novelist integration, then it would
okay.
do it.
Sweet. Right.
Cool. Any other questions or? Okay, let's move on to 210302, which is really just Carl X updates. This currently, no, we did push this into 2104. So this is just for Carl X. We had a few cases where items weren't updating as part of the standard continuous extract, and some of that was due to issues within the code, and some of it was due to we found a time difference between a couple of servers. So we now have all of the indexing, deleting old bibs. There were some issues with suppression as well that weren't popping up. So that all looks good now. And then 2104, we've got a few big things. So the biggest thing that we're working on now is caching of checkouts, holds, and account summary information. So let's look at this a little bit more. Where is, so that's the browser we want. Okay, so we have checked out titles on hold. If we go look at these now, these are getting stored in the database. So it takes it a little bit to load the first time. And depending on how many linked users you have and how many titles you have checked out, it can take quite a while. So we've got at least one library that allows up to, well, we have seen hundreds of things checked out to patrons, which just takes a while. So we wanted to cache that so that we could do things like sort and filter and change tabs really quickly. So now we can go back and forth between all of these, and it's essentially instantaneous. And we can do our sorts by title and author. We added due date ascending, due date descending, so that we can sort either direction, and all of that's instantaneous. We now get a new last loaded, so we can say, hey, this information was last loaded at 12:15. This must be on Central Time. So at 12:15 Central, we loaded all of this information. If we know that like we went to a self-check or something and checked things out, we can always click refresh and see what's new. It'll obviously take a little bit longer to reload, and then we'll go through an update. And now we see, yeah, that was last loaded at 12:16 now. So that'll happen for titles checked out, titles on hold for any e-content source. So it takes it again a little while to load the holds. Once that's all done, it's cached and we can go back and forth between everything nice and quickly. So So the more linked users you have, the longer it took, the more things you have checked out or on hold, the longer it took, and the more e-content sources you had. So this should also help reduce load on like overdrive servers and that kind of thing. So yeah. The things that we are working on to make sure, so I've got a fairly long testing checklist to go through to make sure this all works properly. The biggest possible risk that I see, and let me just scan the list of who's here. Anybody with an app, there's a potential to break some of the APIs. I will make sure that that doesn't happen, but if you have an app, I will reach out separately to make sure that we are testing that properly. But really want to make sure that account performance looks good. The thing that we want to do that may or may not get done by Thursday, though, would be, so if we look at something that is checked out here, so if we go to Owly and click here, so rather than showing, hey, place a new hold on Owly, since we already have it checked out, be able to say either, and I'm happy to get a little feedback on this, either here or both, say this is already checked out to you as long as we have that information cached. Just kind of a nice way to help reduce people placing additional holds. I'm a little concerned about completely removing the place hold button, just because we do allow item holds on some things, and just because I have issue 1 of a graphic novel checked out does not mean that I don't want issue 2. So we would want to allow people to continue to place holds and that kind of thing. But it would be a really nice way to say, this is already on hold for you, or this is already checked out to you, and we already have all of that information. So does anybody have preferences for if that shows in status or above the holds? I know there are several people very excited about this. So any comments, questions about that?
I mean, my first thought is we probably like it near the hold button.
Yeah.
Because like as a patron, I'm looking for the hold button. I'm not, the librarians and teachers and whatnot are probably looking at this other information, right? All the details, but patrons just want the please give it to me button.
Right. Cool. That makes sense to me too.
Yeah, I would second that, of where it's not necessarily that the hold button needs to go away, but just that it could be close by. So that if we were to masquerade as them, we could be like, hey, did you notice that there's this thing that says it's already on hold to you? I mean, because there's a couple instances where our item types, we allow multiple holds per bib record just because of reasons. So they still being able to place holds would be required, but having that little info would be nice.
Yeah, James.
This is James. I would, yeah, definitely say, because, primarily because of times where things are misgrouped or mishandled, leave the, and also, our ILS allows for patrons to place multiple holds on the same title anyway. And so, don't get rid of the place hold button. In my mind, I had always envisioned this kind of thing as like being a background color to the search result. I don't know if that is that would be useful or wise, but in particular, thinking about our K through 4 students, like a big indicator of you've already got this, that surrounds all of the information in the title might be useful.
Cool. Any other comments?
I was going to throw out there might be the option to just change the text on the hold button without changing the functionality, though I don't know if that would if that would make sense, just depending on what it was.
So it could say like checked out place hold, checked out / placeholder or something.
Yeah.
Checked out to already on hold, place another hold or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Any other questions, comments? Cool. Moving on. So the other big thing that we've done is Polaris integration has started. So this is fairly basic functionality to start with, but it's going to keep moving at a fairly rapid pace. So right now we're able to index titles from Polaris. Polaris is kind of cool. Like it's got APIs that actually helps us set it up in Aspen, so we can automatically load collection, shelf locations. We can load all of the libraries and locations. Right now, just the full export's working, but we'll get the incremental one working as well. And we can load the account summary, load all of the checkouts, load all of the holds. So the next step is all of the account integration, the place a hold, cancel a hold, freeze a hold, thaw a hold, renew a checkout, all of that kind of good stuff. So update account information. So that's going nicely and lots of fun to work with. They've got actually really good APIs, which is nice. Other updates, translation of the pickup of the message for pickup location updated. That solved the ticket. And always, if people find things that aren't translated, just submit a ticket and we can get those translated. Whether you want to use it for English to English or English to a different language translations. Open archives processing, we found a case where dates weren't being formatted properly prior to being added to the record in Solar. We updated that so that all of those dates are formatted correctly. That will allow just more records to be included. So a lot of the archives have dates that are not good Solar dates. So things where it's like a date range or we had already been handling like a circa 1892 kind of deal, but just some of those more complicated things. So right now, if it can't figure out what the date is, it's going to display, it logs a note and then ignores it. Then in Koha, we're doing some additional checking to see if the translations for shelf location, sublocation, or collection are blank before we process them as a format, which just allows a little extra control. Any questions about any of that stuff? This will all get filled out more as especially the account improvement functionality gets finished. There are a number of bugs that will also get fixed as well between now and Thursday. Yeah, Kirsten, you want to talk about anything you're working on or for the menu stuff?
I have been working on getting the menus to auto hide when you're no longer in focus with them. So hopefully that's completely functional. There's a few places where it doesn't work quite right yet.
That should be a nice little user enhancement, make it easier to. that's the bulk of what we're doing for 2104. There's obviously still a few more days between now and Thursday evening, so we'll have a few more changes in place. Any questions, comments, concerns? Cool. Well, I'm glad to see so many people here, so thanks for coming today. Yeah, we're looking forward to rolling this out. We'll announce in Slack when deployments start and that kind of thing. But or if for some reason we need to push off until next Tuesday. So for anybody that wasn't here at the beginning, 2104 should roll out at the beginning or Thursday night. But if for some reason the account improvements take a little longer or feel extra dangerous, we would roll it out next Tuesday. So or a week from Tuesday, which would be the 30th. So, but feeling good about things. Yeah. Any comments, questions, concerns?
Actually, I lied. I shook my head no, and then I have a question. If I wanted to do the toggle thing, would I need to send in a ticket to you, Mark, or what would be the best way?
Yeah, send me a quick ticket. And,
Okay.
yeah.
Will do.
Cool. All right. Great. Well, we can keep this nice and short, unless anybody else has any other comments. So. All right. Thanks, everyone. Looking forward to getting this out to y'all. So we'll let you know how things go this week and roll it out later. Thanks again.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for Polaris, Mark. Bye.
Oh, yeah, of course.